Hey everyone, welcome to your daily devotional. Today I'm speaking from Matthew 17, verses 14 to 21. So follow along with me as I read it, and as always, take time on your own to read through the entire chapter, and asking the Lord for wisdom and revelation. So starting in verse 14, it reads like this. And when they came to the crowd, a man came up to him and kneeling before him, said, "Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has seizures and he suffers terribly. For often he falls into the fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him." And Jesus answered, "O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here to me." And Jesus rebukes the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, "Why could we not cast it out?" He said to them, "Because of your little faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." This is a really cool story that follows directly after Jesus' transfiguration in verses 1 to 13 of chapter 17. And this story is actually paralleled in Mark 9 and Luke 9, so read those as well to get a kind of full understanding. One of the key points that Matthew kind of leaves out is that Jesus teaches, it's a lack of faith, but he says some things can only be done by prayer and fasting. And that's kind of what I want to focus on today. I think we're finding an incredible formula for our faith and for just Christian walk in general, is that the disciples had small faith or a lack of faith because they didn't have lives that were filled with prayer and fasting. Jesus was away from the disciples. Him, Peter, James, and John were away. So the 9 other disciples generally were together when they were approached by this father, and they tried to cast out the demon. We know from reading Matthew 10 that they had previously been empowered by Jesus to cast out demons, and they had been doing these things. So this may have been the first chance or encounter where they kind of failed. And you can sense Jesus' kind of either disappointment or frustration when he says, like, "Man, faithless, twisted generation, how long do I need to do this? How long do I need to put up with this?" And he says, "Bring him here to me." And he casted out the demon instantly, and the boy is healed. I can sense his frustration there, because these disciples that have walked with Jesus, that have lived with Jesus for all this time, we're seeing this insight on their lives that they lack prayer and they lack fasting. Because if they had done those things, if they had been practicing these things in their walk, they would not be lacking the faith to cast out this demon. And I want to say that to us as a instruction and as a charge to us as a church and as a youth group. We can't always just because we can't always be ready for any situation and say, okay, now that I have this big decision or this big test coming up, now I'll be praying, now I'll be fasting, because life doesn't work that way. Sometimes we don't know what's going to happen next. Obviously, as we see it in the world around us, we can never expect, we can never predict necessarily what's coming. But if we were to be people that were marked by prayer, that were marked by fasting, that would always have us walking in faith, because it increases our reliance on God. It says, God, you are able and I am not, and it takes off and it removes our own humanity. It says, God, I want to rely on you. I want to rely on your ability, not mine. And even things like prayer and fasting, which seem so kind of passive, these are the things that empower us to walk and move in the powerful acts of God. So I just want to encourage us to begin lives of prayer, begin lives of fasting. If you have questions about that, if you have questions about how to do it, how to get started, how to maintain it, how to grow in it, feel free to leave comments or questions or ask any of your teachers. but we see, I think it's very clear to see in Matthew 17, by prayer and by fasting, we increase our faith. And when we increase our faith, we are able to do the things that God wants us to do in our daily lives. So that's all for today. As always, be safe. Miss you guys. See you guys soon.